Raheem Morris is the next head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And frankly, guys, I think we could sit here all day talking about the process of Rich McKay and Arthur Blank, but I don't want to bog it down with negativity the entire show. I do want to talk about the good aspects of Raheem. And Mark, we can start off with you. I think the biggest thing about Raheem was his capability of being able to bring in a good staff and possibly impact free agency. We now know what his staff looks like. What are your thoughts on that, especially the hiring of Zach Robinson over from the Rams?
I mean, look, I think, again, when it comes to the Rams and what they accomplished this year, it's rather surprising. I mean, they were a team that I didn't think was going to be as bad as many forecasted as a 4-5 win team. I never thought they were a playoff team. I thought they were somewhere in the middle, like a 6 or 7 win team. And so I was kind of surprised to see how well they did. And look, when you have a quarterback like Matt Stafford, and then you add in a couple of pieces like Melikaliki Mucka and what's the name of that guy? Yeah, I call him Melikaliki. When you get that kind of receiver in there that changes the game along with Cooper Kupp, and they finally found a running game, the pieces came in for it to work for Sean McVay's offense. I think we get over enamored with the tree. Like the tree nowadays isn't what it used to be. Like when you came from a Bill Walsh tree, when you came from a Bill Parcells tree, like when I was growing up, when I was younger, those coaches, I think those trees matter. Now, because coaches move so quickly and they get hired and fired so quickly, I don't know if the tree matters as much. I think sometimes you just get a lot of faulty branches that do or don't work out. So the fact that he came from a McVay tree doesn't, for me, carry as much weight as it does for some other people. I think that's just a fancy thing to say to make it sound cool, like you know what you're talking about a coach, when really, 9 out of 10 people could not know anything about the scheme that McVay or Zach Robinson is going to run. So does it fit the personnel? I think offensively, as long as they get the quarterback right, they're going to be around a 500 team, maybe even above, because the offense is legit and it's there. The players are legit and it's there. What does the offensive line look like? Because they still are running a very similar outside zone scheme, which is what McVay and Robinson run. I think, the offensive line may be a weak point or could be a strong point, depending on what they do. I think there's some upgrades that are needed there. My biggest concern, guys, believe it or not, is the defense. You're not running Ryan Nielsen's defense anymore at all. Raheem's defense and Ryan's defense are not the same. Yes, Grady transfers over. Yes, AJ transfers over. Jesse Bates is going to be fine. What's the linebacking core going to look like? Do you still have Calais Campbell coming back?
Bud Dupree.
Yeah. Does he fit in the scheme?
They don't have a second safety.
The reason you were able to get by with such piss poor, crappy, just filling, I don't even want to curse, but a lot of bad words about quarterback play and offense. The reason why is because your defense was really good. And again, I looked this up. This is one of the top 10 defenses in the last 50 years of Atlanta Falcons football. Statistically, which, doesn't sound like it should have been, but it was. Yeah. So with the defense looking different, great. The offense could score 24 points a game. If the defense is giving up 25, we're still on the negative end of this thing. So I don't know that we assume the defense is going to transfer. That's more of my concern than anything else. What is the defense going to look like? Because the Rams defense this year was
I mean, you go back and look at Raheem Morris. He was there for 3 years. And even when they had all that talent with Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, they won a Super Bowl. They were the 17th ranked defense. Now they stepped up during the playoffs. They're 18th 2 years ago, and they're 20th this year. So everyone acting like Raheem Morris, that's not what I expect from Raheem Morris to be this great defensive guru. I'm expecting the CEO thing. Jimmy Lake wasn't exactly the sexiest hire to be the DC. Now they keep Gray. Maybe all three of those guys can combine to do something, but I'm with you. I mean, the talent on the defensive side of the ball is still lacking. When you go to a new scheme, it's going to have an impact. We'll see what they do in free agency, but I totally am with you. If you can get the quarterback situation right offensively, I think Robinson, these weapons, and then maybe they add another wide receiver, they're just fine. Defensively, you got a lot of holes. You got a lot of guys that are leaving that had big impacts in Campbell and Bud Dupree, especially when you talk about the getting pressure, because those guys don't come back. You quite literally don't have an edge room. You have AK-47 and nothing else.
Yeah,
I'm going to push back. I held my tongue long enough. Okay. I held my tongue long enough because I'm going to paint a more optimistic picture. We don't have to talk about the Sean McVay tree. We talk about the Kyle Shanahan tree. And it's not necessarily that you're there long enough. It's just that you're implementing very similar schemes. And to that point, I would say name one failure of an offensive-minded head coach or offensive coordinator that has come from that Kyle Shanahan tree.
I agree. The Shanahan tree,
the Shanahan tree is just about as great as any tree there's ever been in terms of success on offensive side of the football. Winning Super Bowls. Think on that. Let me go back.
Caveated it on the offensive side of the ball. Okay.
20, I agree with the quarterback situation. I don't care if Jesus Christ himself was the head coach of this football team.
Let me ask you a question. Let's talk about the tree here for a second.
Okay.
Bobby Slowick, right? If Brock Purdy is on the Houston Texans this year, are they a playoff team?
All you could do is work with what you got, Zinno.
Okay, I mean, the tree. I think there's when you get
Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love.
All right, yeah.
Tua, we had big questions about Tua before Mike McDaniel got there.
We did.
I just think the quarterback position is very important. Okay. Zach Robinson's not going to work out with Desmond Ritter. We would all think Zach Robinson's a joke if he has Desmond Ritter. I think that's a fair point.
You're not wrong on that. I don't think you're wrong. But again, it boils back to who's going to be their quarterback this year, and what does that look like? And oh, by the way, if you're not going to go with a veteran guy, and I mean, is Arthur
the quarterback talk, because I want to actually talk about that next, because I do.
All right, let me continue. Let me continue painting the optimistic picture. Okay, we got 25 million in cap space, can grow up to 40. That's plenty to spend on the defense side of the ball. Raheem Morris learned under Quinn 4-3. Also Vic Fangio, 2 different kinds of defenses. Hopefully some of that, flexibility, versatility transfers over. I don't think it's as dire as Chase and Zinno were painting it.
I do want to talk about this quarterback situation coming up after the break.